So, we are here tonight, all right, to get our hearts hopping with hope. How dope! Was that rhyme just an accident? Nah, man, I practiced it. That's not happening randomly. Nope! It's January in Seattle. Forgive me if I prattle. We all have our own ways to cope. What if all night I just keep rhyming? And that was just pump priming. That would be savage. Now go read the passage. That's a slant rhyme, but it's there. Read the passage.
Wow.
Caleb, did you want us to meet in groups so that you didn't have to do that?
In part.
Yeah, okay.
That was part of it.
We don't have the passage.
Oh, okay, it's online. Yeah, sorry. I think, I didn't print it off. Online services. Or on, yeah, that's what, yeah.
What is it?
Matthew 13:45.
You guys ready?
He was laughing at himself, looking at the jokes that he has written.
No, I was feeling my shame because of the joke that I already did. Thank you very much. So, what observations, questions, thoughts, intellectual meanderings does the passage prompt, my friends?
I think it's interesting that this guy is like in a field and he finds a treasure and then he hides it again and then he goes and buys the field. That's just like, what was he doing in the field? Was he looking for a treasure? It's just interesting.
Wait, so back up. What is the question? What was he doing in the field?
It's an observation.
Okay. It's just an observation that it's weird that he found it.
Yeah.
I thought we were just reading 45. I'm confused.
Right.
Say what?
I thought we were just reading 45 and 46.
Oh, sorry. It starts at 44. Did I start at you at 45 online?
That's just what Deanna said. That was very unclear.
Oh, okay. Online, does it? Because we actually need to do the other one too, and that's the one that comes right before it.
It's on the website.
Start
I
at
didn't
44.
look
It's on the website.
I didn't look at the website.
Okay.
Logged
Did anybody
nothing.
did anybody here start at 44? Because we're talking mostly about 44. It's really short, so you can read it now. 44 through 47.
I think it's interesting. This is probably not super helpful for the discussion, but I always want to know if there's going to do anything with what they found. So the treasure or the pearl, are they just keeping it because it's so precious to them? Or does he sell everything he has to get the treasure to then make money off of it, or the pearl? Do you know what I mean?
What
Like,
happens
And
afterwards?
it's always interesting that I'm thinking that in my head too. Like, it seems a little cynical. That's like but what are they doing? Like, what are they doing with it?
Yeah.
I just always, anyway, I'm curious.
I don't know, like, I feel like there's cultural context or something that I'm not really getting for this, I don't know who was saying it, if it was Garrison, but whoever was talking about the hidden treasure and the costly pearl, like, I assume that the merchant who sells all of the crap that he has to buy the pearl is gonna go around and go to some other city and sell it and make a bunch of dough, but it just seems a little weird to me. I'm like assuming that, but I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the John Steinbeck book, The Pearl, where the pearl was like a terrible thing, which is kind of unrelated, but yeah, there's some cultural baggage in my head.
Yeah.
Weighing my thought processes down.
One cultural thing that doesn't really relate to your questions, but that I can tell you about is that people didn't use banks; they saved their money in fields, and so it wasn't super weird for that to be the case. For them to find something in stored in the field. Any other thoughts, observations?
Something that I just noticed was, so in the first parable, the kingdom of heaven is like the treasure, but in the second parable, the kingdom of heaven is like the merchant. And I guess I thought, in my head, I was thinking that it was about the treasure and the pearl, but it's actually about like the thing, the object, and then the person in the second one.
Oh yeah,
What if
That's
you are the kingdom of heaven?
interesting.
yeah,
It is kind of interesting because it's a set of parables, right? And the parable, I guess we read just the beginning, the first verse, 47, that the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet cast into the sea.
yeah.
I don't know, those are actually kind of different. I never realized that it's the merchant.
Yeah.
About the thing that's like found and about the person who's like finding.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never noticed that.
I think that is worth thinking about, and we should play with that idea for a second. Also, when he says the kingdom of God is like, he's saying like this story shows you something about what heaven's like. Not necessarily like the first word that I say is heaven. But I still think it's worth poking at it from a lot of different angles and figuring it out. So we'll talk about that one. What else?
Kind of going along with that. So in the first part, the kingdom of heaven is the treasure, like we were saying, and it's like when you find it, you give up your life for it, and then in the second one it's like the kingdom of heaven is searching for pearls.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we're the pearls or something else is the pearls.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be very flattered to be a pearl,
Yeah.
having great value and went and sold everything else to buy the pearl, which, he just did give all he had.
Yeah. I like
To
that.
follow up on that, rather than the kingdom of heaven being the merchant, I think it's like the whole act of like the merchant finding the pearl and the greatest value pearl, that's the kingdom of heaven, and then he gives up everything else to pursue that. That's why I was kind of getting out of it.
Yeah.
I also would like to unpack the term kingdom of heaven.
Okay.
Also, that's just interesting because usually when you think of heaven, you think of like, I don't know, you're with Jesus eternal. This is just very active, and so it's just interesting.
Okay. Let's start with that. Just unpack the phrase "kingdom of heaven." Let's start with that, and then hit her question. What is the kingdom of heaven?
People. Like the kingdom of heaven is like the people.
Yeah.
I feel it. It's
Oh, yeah.
The church is a group of people, not a building. But like the kingdom of heaven is like the people.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I remember when Jesus comes and starts telling people to follow him, or no, is it John the Baptist that does this? Repent and believe, for the kingdom of God is near.
Yeah.
And that the nearness is proximity, not time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like this heavenly way of being that
Yes.
seems so far off is actually really close. And
So is the kingdom of heaven like where what God wants to happen is happening?
yeah, it's yeah.
You know? So that can occur both now and.
Yeah, what is it? What's the term that I hear some use sometimes? It's like both now and not yet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's what I think about it. It's like when I know that I'm like in the flow with God, like I'm attuned to God and listening and following even when it's uncomfortable. Like there's joy there, and that feels like the kingdom. And that happens. That's also borne out in like my relationship with my relationships with others and myself and just the world around me. Like I think it's all of those things. And it's this thing that we don't know yet.
Yeah. Let's hit this question. How would it affect the meaning of the parable to take seriously that in the first one the kingdom of heaven is the treasure, and in the second one it's the merchant? And I actually like this, and I'm making interpretive leaps later on in what I want to say that like very much comes from that observation. So, or that is supported by that observation. But what do you guys think?
Can you say it again?
Yeah, what's the question?
Okay, what does it mean that in the first parable, the kingdom of heaven is like the treasure, but in the second parable, the kingdom of heaven is like the merchant? So even though they're really similar stories, in one it's the person, and in the other it's the thing that is found.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that comes to mind for me is that that we are both sought after and the kingdom itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Yeah, we are both sought after and we are the kingdom itself. That's a deep little sentence that just came out of Seth's mouth. Yeah, we're where God chose to dwell. We're sought after, and heaven is this thing that we seek. That's deep.
Also that heaven is, the kingdom of heaven is all encompassing. Like it's not just, like us when we act a certain way. It's also like the things around us.
Yeah.
It's a place and a person.
Yeah. Remember that sentence, Seth, so you can say it again later.
Okay.
I'm going to forget it, but that's a good one. We're both sought after, and what is it?
And the kingdom itself.
And we are the kingdom itself, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in both of these situations, I don't know, when the kingdom of heaven is a treasure and somebody, he stumbles upon a treasure, it's just kind of, it's interesting. He's really happy about it, right? He's joyful to have found it, and I feel like normally selling everything you have and buying a field would not be considered. I mean, it would just be weird in our day and context to just buy some random undeveloped field. But to be doing that and to be really happy about that, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I necessarily always bring that to my imagination of the kingdom of heaven as something that if I find it, I should feel extreme joy. I mean, having grown up in the church, maybe that's a little different for me. Because, you know, it just was like, well, this is the expectation. But you know, it's not necessarily that. Yeah, I think that's something that I would like to model better in my own life.
I think I just thought as you were saying that too, like it's something that still has to be developed. Like if you have like just an open field, whether you're gonna use it for crops or you're gonna build something on it, like it's undeveloped land, like you still have to do something with it. It's not like.
Well, wait, hold on though. I hear what you're saying. I think that like that's a really cool. That's something you could dig into. But is he buying the? I can read it again. But is he buying the field because he knows the treasure's there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you don't actually have to do anything to it. Like
Well,
he just
that's
knows.
true.
He just
Like,
knows the
there's
treasure's
some-
there. Like I think what you're saying is really important and like. there's a
Well,
way that you
he's
can do
he's gonna sell everything to get it. That's doing something.
it. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I guess my point is that like. He's willing to give everything up for this thing that he knows is there if he just
Yeah.
and he's just like removing the barriers to getting it.
Yeah, I think I saw that as like,
Yeah.
he sees the value in it, right? Cause he found like the treasure that was there, so there's still value in it. I don't know, that's where my brain.
Yeah.
He sees the value in it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's like a finished
Okay.
product, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
It
Um,
also, to do these things seems financially foolish.
Yeah.
So there's social risk involved, financial risk involved. Like it's very risky
Yeah.
for them to do this. And they will be mocked probably.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the treasure's super valuable, but
Here's a question: why is the treasure hidden?
Can I say one thing really fast?
Go back.
to that other
Yeah.
question? So I'm reading the Message, and in the first part, it talks about the person who found the treasure. They refer to him as a trespasser. And so it's interesting to think of the first part, like the treasure being Christ, if that's how we want to think about it. And like Christ is coming for us and is with us even when we don't deserve it. And even, like all of these things where it is, not what we deserve.
Yeah.
And so kind of that, like, Christ is the treasure. And then in that second part, it talks about it as it's like what do they say here? They talk about as a jewel merchant. So somebody who's like specifically looking for this thing. And so I think that just speaks to the fact that Christ is going to come to us, like whether we are looking for him and like we were born in the church and this is what is going on, or if we are the trespasser, like I think that's a really beautiful thing too, that God's kingdom doesn't
I like that.
discriminate in those ways.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good observation. Okay. Why is the treasure hidden?
Because somebody else didn't want anybody else to find it.
Someone else didn't want anyone to
it
find
was the
it.
banking system at that time.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a crappy banking system. I agree, not any better than ours sometimes. But like, if I have shiny things and the only way that I can keep it safe is by going to some random field somewhere and digging it as deep as I can, I mean, that's weird. And I guess that guy, the guy who did that dies or is forgotten somehow, and then this other dude comes in. I don't know, it's just, it was very valuable, and so the original owner of the treasure decided to hide it. I mean, that's the only reasonable interpretation to me.
Yeah, why do you think Jesus had it be a hidden treasure?
Yeah, can we all just like agree this is an allegory, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is the literal reason.
Yeah.
But I'm getting more at the figurative reason.
I know, I'm just teasing.
We want to protect things that are really valuable to us though, and I think sometimes maybe we miss out when we think that we don't have to work hard for the treasure of heaven.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
These valuable things shouldn't just be thrown about and wasted, and is there value? Does God find value in us working hard to find his treasure?
Yeah. And then also, like, finding stuff is super fun and really awesome. So there's this dirt hill that was about a quarter mile behind my house. You guys are from Spokane. Do you guys remember, like, Division Hill, like, you know when the Division Hill, like, goes up and there's like a Chinese restaurant at the bottom of it, and it starts, like, really going uphill?
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, to the left of that, there's like a place that used to be like a scrap hill. It was like a hill that was like, I don't know, it was a scrap yard, and maybe it was like a junkyard, and they had like half-heartedly cleaned it up so that like most of the stuff was gone, but there's still all kinds of like auto parts and electronics that could be dug up, and I don't know, nuclear waste, like all just kind of, just all kinds of stuff. And I love this hill. This was like where I spent my childhood. This is where, like, in the winter, we would like go tobogganing down it and pretend we were doing Jamaican bobsledding team. And my little brother broke his collarbone on a bike jump. And there's a really angry man at the top of the hill, this old guy that our dogs would just be running around. And sometimes they'd go into his yard and he'd yell cuss words at us. And he'd take a huge rock and try to crush my dog's head with it. It was just like the perfect like childhood hill. It was like amazing. And so one thing that I would do with my friend is we would go there and we would pretend that we were dismantling bombs, because there was just all kinds of like weird stuff you could find if you dug around in this hill. And so we'd dig up stuff and we'd be like, you like, quick, we gotta like cut the wire. And we'd bring along scissors and we like cut wires, and there's all, and we were saving planet Earth. And one day I saw this little like corner sticking out of the dirt, and I was like, here we go. We got a bomb again. And me and my friend, we start digging it up. It was this little plastic tube thing. And then there were a bunch of plastic tubes. And we keep digging it up. And I like open one of these plastic tubes up, and out falls these shiny coins. Like like shinier than tinfoil. The shiniest coins I've ever seen just like fall out onto the ground. And I'm like, what? Like, I was like, these are not like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. These are like adult, like serious, like pirate treasure kind of, you know, this is something special. I knew it was something special. And then, so what we found out is that it was 1 ounce silver coins, and it was several $1,000s worth of it. I want to say probably more like $4,000 to $6,000 now. It was less than. But me and my friend find this. We take them back and we call the cops, and we're like, can we keep these? We found this on public land. Like, it wasn't somebody's yard. It was just like this hill that everyone plays on. I don't think anyone owns it. The cops are like, yeah, you guys can keep it, but you got to put a thing in the newspaper for like 2 months to see if it's anyone's, to advertise like that you found these things. After 2 months it goes by, we get to keep them. And I remember when I was walking back with these silver coins, like, first of all, literally there was a rainbow in the sky when I was walking back holding these things, because I am Irish and I'm a leprechaun and God loves me. And we're walking back with these silver coins, and I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this means I'm gonna go to Harvard. I was like, I'm rich now, I'm gonna go to Harvard. Yeah, because as an 8-year-old, the only thing standing between me and Harvard was money, but obviously it was gonna take more than a couple $1,000s to get this guy to Harvard, am I right? So I know, I was a driven little boy. But there are only a few things in my life that I will like pretty much never part with. My guitar, my 1964 Fender Mustang. I'd starve for a while before I'd sell that thing. And these coins, maybe probably a few other things, but these coins, like, it just felt so special to have this early in life, this confirmation that life is in fact magic. And just this, to find these things with my friend and feel like a serious important, like destined discoverer of things. It was awesome. Discovering things is awesome, and finding treasure in a field is definitely also awesome. And so, like, if you think about like why is there so much discovery in life? Like, why do we start as a baby and we literally know nothing? We don't even know like what an object is or how to separate objects from their background when we're a baby. Like, we start with nothing. And then life is this process of gradually discovering more and more and more. And it's full of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions. And why is that? Because God has given us the gift of discovery. And the kingdom of God has to be discovered. It's a treasure that's all the more sweet because of the hunt. Because you had to hunt for it. And I think we need that with this year of being pent up and seeing all of our goals that we had go on pause. I think we could use some discovery right now. Like last week, I was talking to Deanna and I was like, I need more out of life than skiing and watching TV. Like, I can't just wait this thing out. And I feel like I need this sense of like discovery and movement and like God doing something in the world. More on that in a minute. More on that Saturday night. So verse 44, back to the text. When a man found it, he hid it again. Why do you guys think he hides it again after he finds it?
Well, someone else doesn't take it.
Yeah. So someone else doesn't take it. Why didn't he just take it right away?
Well,
It'd be stealing, yeah. And he'd always have to wonder if it could be taken back, if he'd have imposter syndrome. He wouldn't be able to keep it and have it like legally. Which I think brings out this principle that's like, if you really want to own your faith and own it in a way where you're not afraid about it or afraid that it can be taken from you, you got to sell things off. If you really want to own it, you got to sell things off. And basically, I think that the reason that he has the guy rehide it is so because it makes for two movements in the passage. There's the discovery and then there's the sell-off, right? There's this initial glimpse of like, oh my God, like this is so much more than I could have ever imagined. But then there's the plans and the hard work, and he goes back and he sells the 1964. It says he sold everything, like his 1964 Fender Mustang, his signed Barry Sanders card. Like, he gives all that stuff away because this is so much more precious that he's willing to give anything to have it, right? We have built most church services around getting the glimpse and around having the feel. We measure the quality of our own spiritual lives based on whether we're glimpsing, whether we're feeling God. But what the church needs today is people who actually want to sell some of their capital for the kingdom, who want to host a house church in their home, or who want to gather up a bunch of coats and give them out, who want to get practical with their faith, who want to make real sacrifices. That's what the church needs right now. The kingdom of God, the reign of God isn't something that we're supposed to like take a glimpse and be like, let's be back next week. Let's spend an hour again next week. I'll keep visiting this treasure. It's something that we got to sell everything to own. And so, like, functionally, you're on the right path with Jesus when you can look at anything in your life and say that nothing's so important to me that I wouldn't gladly give it up to get more of Jesus. That if Jesus were asking me to give it up, anything, if you're like, I'll follow Jesus as long as I get this or as long as I get that, that shows that there's something that you're not ready to give up if Jesus needs it. So like, this is probably a pretty common one. Like, if your image is so important to yourself that you're not willing to liquidate it, you're not willing to sell it sometimes, you're not willing to let people at your work know that you follow Jesus. It could be money that you're not willing to give, that you feel like God's asking you to give. It could be just a relationship that you really, really want, and you're not going to be okay with God if you can't have it. with these things, what you're really saying with your heart is this thing is more valuable. This thing is more eternal. This thing is more satisfying than God himself. And that's not a good idea. So, yeah, back to the passage. Let's talk about the second parable. Talk to me about the pearl of great price. And I think actually someone already hit this. But why have the two parables? I think it was Sarah already talked about this. But could you say what you said again, Sarah, about having, like, why the two parables are different?
Sure. I was just saying that in the first one, it speaks more, in my interpretation, it speaks more towards Jesus as like savior, and in the second parable it's more of like us looking for him.
Yeah.
Like the first one is we just kind of stumble up, like he's after us, like we stumble upon him,
Yeah, as a
even if
trespasser.
we don't deserve him. And then the second one is more like we are looking and we will find him. Where
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like the second one is an experienced person at estimating values. Like that's what this person does for their work. And so, yeah.
What was the question though?
Okay, yeah. Like what layer of nuance is Jesus trying to add with the second parable? Do you want to take another stab at that?
Maybe like seek and you shall find,
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah. Looks like Deanna's working on something.
Oh, I was just thinking about what you're saying. It's not fully worked out yet.
Okay, you can let it brew.
No. Like we need to, yeah, like we need to be able to to sell everything we have for the kingdom, and if we're not, maybe we don't realize how valuable and good the kingdom is.
Mhm.
But I just think that's like also like if we're at that point, that Jesus would be excited to show us how valuable and
Yeah.
how good. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like sometimes, yeah.
I like that.
Uh,
Like Jesus isn't trying to make a bad trade with us. Like
yes. And if we're
Jesus
not
wants to
at the
show us
point
how
where we're
valuable
ready
and
to
good.
sell everything, like just let's ask Jesus to show us how good the treasure is, or like let's
Yeah.
look at it valued somewhere or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was working on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one thing that's been kind of brewing here is, sort of thinking back to the first parable for just a moment. It really works for this as well, is that, we live, like, I was just listening to this thing about, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. It doesn't matter. Well, I was listening to this thing, and really what it came down to was that we live in this complex world, and we're called by God, we're called by Christ in us to live simply, really, to be in moments of oneness with God, and to do that you need to really let go of the things that are not necessary. This thing that they said was unnecessary things are always imposing, and unnecessary things are never imposing. Like the love of God, love is never imposing. God will never impose love upon us. And so to remove those things to remove those complex things from our lives, you either need to renounce their value from them, even if you do possess them, be willing to give them up. I mean, you see this with Jesus all the time. Like, he asks some rich people to give up everything because he knows that they won't, or he knows it'll be a challenge for them. While others, you know, he dines with them because he knows they're willing to. Something, you know, that's at least that's my interpretation. The point is that to get rid of these barriers to being in oneness with Christ, in that second parable, being willing to buy or being willing to sell, it's really, to me, it's the same thing. You're getting rid of these things that are, or you're willing to either get rid of things or to spend money for things that is oneness with Christ. I know that's a lot, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I like what you said about like the other things are imposing. God's love is the good treasure. Like,
Yeah.
if the thing that we're not wanting to sell is our image, because you use that as an example, like being afraid to tell people, that fear is imposing. like worrying about my image all the time, and because as one who can do that, it's not like freeing. It's not awesome. Selling that, getting rid of that to like be more, to access more of the love of God and step into that freedom. That's awesome. That's an awesome trade. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's motivated by the awesomeness of the vision.
but I like that. I like thinking about it as the other things are like preventing us from getting this awesome treasure.
Oh, yeah.
Like the imposing. Yeah, that was helpful.
Holding on to other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a really related point that I want to riff on, which is like, pick whatever massive dream that you have in life. If you want to make a movie with Martin Scorsese, like, that's huge. That's like that's a huge dream. And if somebody here said that they planned on doing that, like, we'd probably be like, yeah, right, dude, like in our heads. But it's so small. It's like such a tiny dream compared to what God is actually promising us. Like, we're not going to get to collaborate with Martin Scorsese. We're going to get to collaborate with God. With God. And just all of it. Like, what if I told you that I've got a banana that you can leave it out for 4 years and come back to it, and it's just as good as the day that you picked it off the tree? There's no bruises, there's no fruit flies. It's delicious still. Or like, what if I told you there's a city where black people don't have to worry about getting pulled over because there are no cops, because there is no crime, because people treat each other with complete trust and don't see differences as something that make people want to suspect someone who's different, but something to celebrate. And there's total trust in the society where like there's no what's it called, conspiracy theories or there's no ideological battles anymore. And or like my friend Gene Webb died, that like if I told you like I could believe so hard that I could have him back, or like just even the air quality index of heaven will be 0. There will be no particulates, right? Like, we'll be able to see mountains as clearly as you can see me. Like, all this stuff, nothing on earth is going to get us anywhere near. There's no way to touch the stuff that heaven is claiming. No Elon Musk community, carbon neutral community on a star is gonna get close to that. Yeah, the dreams. So what I'm trying to say is like the treasure is it is so much better. And then the main thing that I wanted to say is like, if we really believe in that treasure in the kingdom of heaven, it should be able to motivate a sell-off of other and lesser things that like nothing else could do, right? Like, people would make a lot of sacrifices to get to make a movie with Martin Scorsese or whatever, right? But there should be no comparison to the kinds of things that we're willing to sell off to get Jesus's vision, because it's so much bigger and it's so much more beautiful, and we're lucky to have that. Like, most people don't have something worth sacrificing like that for. And so, I don't know. I was just like feeling like I want our church to help motivate the sell-off of these things that are lesser and that we don't need. And so I was like, what can we do? So I want to do something that I'm going to call the Do Something Society. I am officially starting the Do Something Society. And we're going to do stuff. We're going to take our faith and make it practical. Bring in a circle of friends, brainstorm, listen to God and say, like, what do you want us to do? And then actually do it. Just pretty simple. Like, we're just going to get together, brainstorm, pray, come up with some stuff to do, and do that stuff. It's named in honor of the Dead Poets Society. It's the Do Something Society. Because, have you guys seen the Dead Poets Society? Such a good movie. It's a bunch of boys get together and read poems in a cave to take the meaning out of life and to grow together. It's like seize the day, carpe diem is like what they're talking about all the time. And I wanted to call it the Do Stuff Society to have a vibe of like, we're going to get together with some friends and do some ancient things, but playfully and creatively, like a bunch of boys in a cave. Like, yeah, I just want to, I'm tired of waiting out COVID, and I want to start making some plans. And I feel like there are some things that we can start preparing for, because there might be this open space in people's lives and hearts when the vaccine comes and finally people can come out of their holes. There might be this longing for community that we could be uniquely positioned for as a house church movement, and so maybe there's going to be people who want to be house hosts. Maybe there's going to be people who want to help lead some stuff, or maybe there's going to be people who want to commit to inviting the new people who show up out for coffee and getting to know them, or to discipleship. And like, I was talking with Kyle about like, we should start planning now, like a music festival feast thing where Kyle's band plays and some of the bands that he knows, and maybe if we know other bands, like just bands and food, and maybe Kanae's gonna like teach people how to dance. Like, I want our church to be ready to say to the community, like, we missed community and we're here to bring it back. Like, we've got God's heart, and so we can't wait to bring community back, you know? And I'm also thinking it'd be great to, I don't know, I'm doing this a lot. I don't know if that's, I've never lived in Hawaii. Anyway, where was I? Oh, I had another good idea, which is, let's plan like a spiritual retreat, not just for us, but for like neighbors and friends. Because I think that people are going to have some stuff that they want to sort through. And I know that big life decisions happen at critical transitions and at spiritual retreats. It works, man. I've seen it work. We should start planning that now and just like getting ready. I want Do Something Society, the Do Something Society. Lots of stuff that we could be doing. I'm not going to name it all, but I want to say one more thing before we close. And in a second, Seth's going to start playing some music. We're going to have our little reflection time. And I think that part of the reason that I have not pressed the gas pedal of Do Something is because I don't want to burn us out with guilt. And so a really critical observation about this passage is something that people have brought up a bit, especially Deanna, but is that it was for the joy. He sold everything with joy, not like with guilt, not with just like, he wasn't weighing options. You know, both of the people in the passage were just like, it was for the joy. Yeah, I hope nobody comes to Do Something Society because of guilt. I hope you come because of the joy set before us. And here's another thing that I want to say really quick. It's going to bring it back to this joy theme, but I want to talk about the field that Jesus' death bought. the field that the money for Jesus' death was used to buy, and it's called the Potter's Field. This should be more iconic than Jesus walking on water. Like, this symbol is so rich, and I don't know why it doesn't get talked about a ton, but it's the Potter's Field. So what happens is Judas gets money for selling out Jesus. The Pharisees give him a bunch of silver coins. And then after Judas betrays him, he starts feeling a ton of regret, and he goes back to the Pharisees, and he's like, I don't want these anymore. And he throws the silver coins at their feet, and he leaves, and he goes and he hangs himself. And then the Pharisees are like, we can't keep these coins because this is blood money. And so they're like, what are we going to do with it? So they're like, well, we got to just like use it for the public somehow. So they're like, okay, we're going to buy the Potter's Field. And the Potter's Field is called the Potter's Field because it had a bunch of clay in it, and they'd taken the clay out, and it was like a used up field that was red. And so it was also called the Field of Blood. And so they said, we're going to use this money that was used to betray Jesus, and we're going to use it to buy the Potter's Field. And what are we going to do with it? Oh, sorry, I yelled. We're going to use it as the final resting place for the immigrants and the poor, for people who are not rich enough to be able to buy a place in their death, for the immigrants and the poor, for the people who aren't Jews. Just so what to them was just a way of dealing with all the trash, this money that is blood money from this horrible Jesus guy, this used up field, these trashy people that don't have anywhere to be. Let's just deal with all the trash together. What to them was just a pile of trash was to God a treasure worth selling it all for, worth dying for. He died to get the field, to get the treasure, which was us. We are the pearls of great price. He put his life on the line to die to get us. And this is the thing you were saying, when we start to have God's heart in us, we're going to start to see people like that too. We're going to see people as these pearls that are worth selling it all to buy the field to get the people. I would not be a pastor today if it weren't for Dan Cadall. Dan Cadall was my Bible study leader when I was a freshman in college, and he sold a little bit of his social capital to hang out with me. He had comfortable relationships with a bunch of his friends that were seniors, that were cooler, that had more nuanced opinions on stuff. But he decided he was going to give up his lunches every day, his Wednesdays, and a bunch of his Friday and Saturday nights to hang out with this freshman who had acne and was lost and judgmental and had a bloated sense of self and just wanted to talk all the time about how girls didn't like him. Freshman Caleb. He sold it off because he saw me and he was like, no, this guy's a pearl. This guy's a pearl and he's worth selling off my lunch times for. Let's get a heart like God's. Let's get a heart like Dan Cadall's. And let's see people as pearls that are worth selling off some of our social capital because we want to show them the way to the kingdom of heaven. Do something, society. Let's pray. And there's reflection questions online if you want to look at those. But we're going to have some reflection. God, help us to see what's really valuable and help us to fearlessly sell off the things that are lesser to get the things that are greater. God, I pray for the Do Something Society that, that no one would join it except for the joy of getting to. But yeah, God, could you help us to see how good and how much bigger your vision is? And could you make us part of it, God, please? Yeah, help us to see people as pearls, God. Yeah, thank you for seeing us as pearls. All right, we're gonna break into groups of 4. If you want to come to the Do Something Society this Saturday, 7 o'clock. If you know of a cave that we could go to, that would be great. Otherwise, it's just gonna be at my house. Outside. outside, and you can do it online, also, of course. And afterwards, we're gonna do it like a hangout. And if you want to bring a poem that you like, since it is named after the Dead Poets Society, maybe we'll have a few people bring poems, but don't feel like you gotta bring a poem to come or whatever.